So much for the first two branches of government. If you can't recall the third, you must have led a virtuous life.
There's three branches of government. There is, I'm not a scholar by any stretch of the
You're starting off
imagination.
on a good footing.
But there's the legislative branch.
Yeah.
There's the executive branch, which is the president.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the third one's called.
Hey, I'm a judge.
Okay, the judiciary branch.
So the framers spent a lot of time on Article 1, and they spent a lot of time on Article 2. And then you get to Article 3, which looks like they covered it at a pub over lunch.
At the beginning of the Republic, the president had a very hard time getting people to serve on the Supreme Court. Nobody wanted to do it because it seemed like a thankless job.
I think it was Hamilton who first coined the phrase that the judiciary is the least dangerous branch.
This is the Supreme Court of the Colony of Virginia in Williamsburg, Virginia. In colonial times, it met only in April and October. So as you can imagine, there were not that many cases.
And it had no power of the purse or the sword.
The only thing that judges can actually do is issue pieces of paper called judgments. And then they have to rely on the other branches of government to enforce that judgment.
So the harm a judge can do was viewed as quite limited.
Well, it's kind of curious how the least dangerous branch has morphed into the imperial judiciary.
In 1803, the Supreme Court decided a case, Marbury versus Madison. It may be the most important case it would ever decide. This is what the court said. An act of the legislature repugnant to the Constitution is void. And, lest there be any doubt, the court added, it is emphatically the province and duty of the Judicial Department to say what the law is. With these few lines, the court established the principles that any government action inconsistent with the Constitution is void, and that the courts will decide what is and is not consistent with the Constitution. That's called judicial review, and that's what happens whenever Americans go to court to assert or protect their constitutional rights.